Want to get more bang for your buck out of your email marketing? Well, I'm going to show you how in today's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. Welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, where I, Selena Knight, share strategies, interview retail revolutionaries, and delve into the minds of e-commerce experts to help you grow a profitable, independent retail or e-commerce business. If you're stuck in a rut, or if you feel like business is way harder than it should be, or you've overachieved all of the things that you've set out to and are wondering what to do next, or how do I even make this better? I know that you're going to love today's episode. If you're stuck in a rut, feel like business is way harder than it should be, or you've achieved all of the things that you set out to and are wondering what next, or how do I even make this better? Then I know that you're going to love today's episode. Hey there! If you subscribe to any of my emails, in the last week, you would have received at least one email asking you to click a button and tell me where you're at right now in your business and where in the world you're located. Just 2 simple clicks. That's it. But those 2 clicks are going to be the very first step in a brand new journey of customized information and emails that will help you grow your retail or e-commerce business. Now, if you haven't clicked those buttons in the first email, never fear, you'll be receiving another email, if you haven't already, with a cute little dog and cat gif. Super cute. In today's episode of the podcast, I want to take you behind the scenes and look at what segmenting our list later rather than sooner actually looked like. So you might be wondering, why did I ask those 2 questions? And why did I ask them now? Well, one of the things that you always hear me banging on about, whether it's in person or here on the podcast, is the customer experience and being able to give customers that personalized journey, giving them the right message at the right time in their journey whilst they shop with you. I mean, there is nothing more annoying than being bombarded with emails about baby clothing if your kids are teenagers, right? And one of the things that has been niggling at our whole team, I mean, we have been talking about this for probably the last 12 months, has been the inability to send emails to the right people when things like grants are issued in specific states, or when I'm hosting live events, or if there is something relevant to a specific country that's going on, but not everybody in the world needs to know about it. And up until now, we haven't accurately been able to send those emails to the relevant people. That's you. Instead, what we've had to do is send emails to my whole entire list, so people all around the world at all different stages of business, and just utilize subject lines to try and get the right people to open. I mean, it's a bit of a workaround, but there's a really big downside when you do this. Well, firstly, you annoy people. I mean, I don't necessarily want to know if somebody's at an event I can't go to because it's in another country. But probably most importantly is your email deliverability goes down, which means your chances of your emails ending up in your customer's inbox and being marked as spam or not being marked as spam, the chances of you actually getting your email to appear in your customer's inbox goes down. So the more people who flick past your email and just delete it, that tells email service providers like Gmail and Outlook that you're not very newsworthy. You don't really deserve to end up in somebody's inbox, which means you're going to end up in that promotions tab in Gmail, or even worse, in spam. And I don't know about you, but when you put time and money and energy into creating good email content and really trying to connect with your customers and of course sell to your customers, you want as many people as possible to see those emails. So in our case, when we wanted someone to know about an event that I was speaking at, or maybe a live event that I was hosting in a specific state, and we were sending it to everybody, thousands of people were getting those emails, but only a few people actually needed to get them. So that meant our email deliverability went down. And that is something that we try really, really hard to avoid. So think about this. If you're a fashion store and you're creating blanket emails for men's, women, and children's clothing, men probably aren't very likely to open an email that has a subject line, "Take 30% off all women's tops." Now, if you're lucky, they may forward it on to their partner or a friend, but most likely they're just going to delete it, which means your deliverability score just went down. Or if you've got a pet store, so you may have heard that we just got another greyhound. So if you're a pet store and you're sending me emails with cat products, 1, I'm allergic to cats, but 2, I don't own cats. So I'm just going to delete those emails. And the more those emails get deleted, the more the algorithm works against you. So those email service providers like Gmail and Outlook, every single time that you get deleted, your emails get deleted and don't get opened, you go down. You are so much more likely to end up in spam or in that promotions tab. And let's not forget, you're just annoying your customers when you send them stuff that they don't want to read. By failing to segment, you're actually hurting your chances of ending up in the right person's inbox, both now and in the future. So whether you're selling books or bras or skincare or sunglasses, I can't stress the importance of customizing the customer journey enough. And here's why. Segmented email campaigns can lead to a 760% increase in revenue. I mean, what would you do with an extra 760% increase in revenue? A lot, right? But on the flip side, 56%, so more than half of people unsubscribe from emails because the content that they're being delivered is no longer relevant to them. So you could be paying to have people on your email list and the content's not relevant. And we all know that some people just don't unsubscribe. I don't know why, but instead they get your emails and they just keep pressing delete. Now, cleaning your email list, that is a conversation for another time. However, over and over again, I've been talking about how personalization of that customer journey is so very important. 86% of your customers say that personalization plays a role in determining whether or not they buy from a brand or they buy from somebody else. So this episode, where I'm going to take you behind the scenes of how we did our segmenting, so some of the tech stuff, the questions that we asked, and I'll also throw in some e-commerce examples as well. So just to be clear, before this latest round of segmenting that we just carried out this week, we were already using very detailed behavioral segmenting based on how you engaged with my content. So the more you open my emails, the more emails you get. And some of you on my list get 3 emails a week. You are highly engaged. You are in the highly engaged list. Some people get 1, and other people still get 1 every second week. All of this we do behind the scenes, because if you are only opening 1 email a week, we know that you only want to see 1 email a week. So we've been doing some stuff in the background, but we had to get even clearer. We had to get more defined so that we could personalize this journey even more. And one of the challenges that we found ourselves facing is that with an ever-growing list of retail and e-commerce store owners all around the world, coupled with more people who are joining my list as a result of wanting to engage me in speaking or consulting, we're sending out the right information. So years later, we have thousands and thousands of people all around the world at all different stages of business, and some people aren't even in retail or e-commerce. They service retail or e-commerce businesses just like yours, but we were sending out very similar emails to everybody. And to be honest, it was time to level up. It was time to really dig deep and take our email marketing to the next level. So this is what we did. We actually got on the phone and talked to a bunch of you. And the more we talked to you guys and girls, the clearer it became that what we were doing, it had served us up until this point. But if we wanted to catch, connect, and eventually convert our customers, then things had to change. So you're probably wondering, what did that process look like and how do you do this in your business? Well, the funny thing is we actually have been chatting about this in our team meetings on and off for months. I think I said earlier, probably about 12 months. We've talked about this need to segment, which is probably why we have so much detailed segmenting in the back end based on engagement. But I sat down and I sort of sketched out over a period of time, this has changed, but what we ended up with was on my whiteboard, 3 very distinct groups of people so that we could make sure that the information each group receives is relevant for where you are at in business right now. And those 3 segments that I ended up with were startup. So for people who are new to retail and e-commerce, we had scale for those of you who have a more established business with a six-figure turnover. And then we have Supercharge. So these are just our little names that we have in the background. It makes us easier to segment when we actually have these customer avatars for each of these groups. And instead of giving it a personal name, we gave the group a name. So we have startup, scale, and Supercharge. And Supercharge is for very established 7-figure retailers. Now, as you would have already experienced in your own retail journey, each of those stages of the business journey has its own set of unique challenges. And as a store owner, you are navigating around very different obstacles when you first start up than you are when you hit 7 figures. And over the years, we've created a lot of content for each of those groups, but up until now, it's all been mushed together. And the way we've segmented up until now is under those 5 core pillars of retail success. But now, that's all going to change. We'll still have the 5 core pillars of retail success, but what we're going to deliver you with those resources and that information is going to be tailored to where you're at in business right now. And don't worry, we'll actually be asking you every few months to see if that's still in the same place so you can move around as your business changes. So think about it like this. Just like that pet store that really should know whether I've got a dog or a cat or both, can you imagine that if you segmented down even further and you knew as a business owner whether I had a puppy or an adult dog or a senior dog, that is really seriously customizing the buying journey, and your chances of sending me an email and having me convert, they skyrocket exponentially. And that's where you start to see those numbers like a 760% increase in revenue. Because if you are sending me an email for senior dog food, my chances of buying it are much higher than if you send me an email for puppy dog food, because my dogs are a little bit older. This is what we talk about when we're saying personalizing the customer journey. In fact, those highly segmented campaigns, they return more than 3 times the revenue per recipient than unsegmented campaigns. 3 times more revenue. Think about that. Think about what that does for your business. If you took a little bit of time out to create these segments and you could triple your revenue per recipient, that has huge implications for your business, for your turnover, for your profitability, all because you spent a little bit of time working out what your customer wants to know about. So you're probably asking, how do I do that? Well, the first step is to simply work out who you want to segment. Now, as I mentioned, we talked about this quite a lot in our business, and we ended up deciding that what was most important to us was where you're at in your business right now. And then second most important thing to us is where in the world are you located, so that we can give you the information that you need to know. Now, for your retail or e-commerce business, you could use criteria such as buying behavior. So if somebody has purchased or if they haven't purchased, those add to cart and abandon cart sequences, your likelihood of churning, so the likelihood of somebody not coming back based on their previous buying behavior. You could use location like we did. You could use gender or age if those things are relevant. Wanting to know who they're buying for is really important as well. Are they buying for themselves? Are they buying for friends? Are they buying for their kids? Now, obviously, whether they're engaged or unengaged, those should probably be your first segments that you should go and start with right now, because that is easy to segment. You don't even have to ask any questions for that. Maybe you might want to segment based on where they've shopped. If you've got an in-store, a bricks and mortar store and an e-commerce store. And then I have a couple of customers who use birthdays and anniversaries. I've got a jewelry customer who uses anniversaries and birthdays to send out very tailored information. So if that is something that works for you, those are a few segments that you could use. But if you have the pet shop, maybe it is dogs, cats, fish, and then even getting more segmented. With my retail stores, we sold baby goods, and so we would always ask the due date of the baby, because then it allowed us to tailor whether somebody was pregnant, whether they had a newborn, whether they had a toddler, and we just were able to customize the content and the products that we sent to them based on what they were looking for. And luckily for you guys listening to this podcast, if you are using an email program like Klaviyo, you know that's my favorite, there's already a lot of segments already built for you that you can just switch on. Now, couple that with the AI, the artificial intelligence that you get, the information that you get when you link Klaviyo to your Shopify or WooCommerce or Magento. A lot of this stuff you may not even have to ask your customers. Using that AI, you'll be able to make educated guesses. Now, of course, I always prefer to just ask, but if you're a little bit scaredy cat in that department, using AI to create segments is your next best step. So my team ended up creating a form. Now we use ActiveCampaign for our business because it includes a CRM. So they created a form and embedded that into the email. And on that form was just those two questions. Where are you at in your business? And you had a choice of, I'm just starting up, I'm ready to scale, and I'm a 7-figure business. And where in the world are you located? So Asia Pacific, UK, Europe, Asia, US. I think there were 4 or 5. So when you're carrying out this segmenting, if you are using a program like Klaviyo with the inbuilt AI, there are several predictions that you can make. So if we go back to that pet store example, utilizing AI, if someone has only ever purchased products for a large dog breed, then you can make an assumption that that's the kind of information that they want to know about. But sometimes you will straight out have to ask your customers. And you should not be scared to do that, because for the most part, customers are happy to help self-segment because they want that personalized experience. The key when asking your customers to carry out self-segmenting is to make this crazy, stupid easy, like one click easy. So one button for them to press. Are you interested in men's, women's, or children's clothing? What would you like to see the most in your inbox? Dogs, cats, birds. One click, one button. Because nobody wants to click away into a 12-page survey if that's not what they're expecting. So we took this on board and we just had those 2 key questions. We have other questions that we're going to ask you down the line, but we've just put those into an automation, so you'll receive those in 3 or 4 weeks. And it will just be one question, one click, every now and then to help us really personalize that customer journey. When we decided to do this, we committed to doing this as thoroughly as we possibly could. So we put a lot of time, thought, and energy into creating quite a complex series of emails and automations that would help to make it simple for you, the customer, but very robust for us. At which point you might be thinking, Sal, I have to work out how to do this, and then you want me to go and create a whole bunch of flows? No. When it comes to best practice, one segment is better than none. Because studies show that if you have that list segmentation, open rates can increase up to 14% more, and click-throughs can be up to 100% more. And we've already talked about your email campaign revenue going up 760%. That is worth the time and the effort, right? Now, I said I'd take you behind the scenes, and the truth is, because we chose to make this quite a complex segmentation, it wasn't unexpected that something would misfire. And sure enough, we did have some automation tech issues. Like I said, it was kind of inevitable. As I mentioned, that even though this looked to be like a simple click to segment automation for you when you open the email, because we had gone to that effort of mapping out where each group will flow once that segmenting has been completed, when you couple that with this mishmash of segments and lists that we already have, there was a lot of moving parts. But remember, you don't start out at this level. This is super advanced. Simply asking a customer whether they're buying for a cat or dog is much more straightforward and is much easier to set up for you. So I don't want to frighten you away thinking that you have to be this complex. So back to our tech issues. Now, luckily, my team were watching as that email campaign went live, and they were able to pick up an error pretty quickly after it occurred. Elizabeth was able to contact the person who was having the issue to work through the bug. So a very big thank you to Naomi for helping us to work through that bug to try and get that little tech issue sorted. So that was the first hiccup that we had. The second, well, I'm not sure if you could call it a hiccup, but what we didn't include in the self-segmenting was the option for people who weren't retail or e-commerce store owners to choose. We just have those three main criteria of startup, scale, and supercharge. But we do know that there are more people coming onto the list, and it is only a small amount. So we're talking a couple of dozen people who are joining my list to get a feel of how I work, how I speak. Maybe they work for an industry association, or they might be an event manager, and they just kind of have to get a feel of whether I would be right for their audience. But we haven't included those in the segment. And I think the main reason that we overlooked this is that traditionally, we weren't creating content, we weren't trying to target that group of people. However, as I'm starting to do a lot more speaking all around the world, it is something that we do need to go back and look at. And we're actually going to reach out to some of those people that we know who are in that segment, who are on the list, and ask them, what do they want to receive from me? Do they just want a few simple emails and then they're happy to go into the group that is relevant for the customers that they serve? Or do they want something more? And you know what, guys? Sometimes it is just so much easier to pick up the phone or drop them a personal email and just ask them. But so many business owners are too scared to do that, to pick up the phone and ask. But what's to be scared about? If you get critical feedback that is only going to help your business to serve your customers better, do it. Pick up the phone and have those conversations. Remember, 86% of consumers say that personalization plays a role in determining whether or not they buy from a brand. So if you're not already segmenting and your competitors are, who is getting the customer? And it is really easy to do this right from the beginning. If you're using something like Klaviyo pop-ups, you can get people to self-segment right from the get-go, meaning that customer journey is highly customized from the minute that your customer interacts with you. Or you could put it in the order confirmation email. Your order confirmation email is the highest opened email that your customer will get. It's almost guaranteed to end up in their inbox. So why not take this time to do something with that email and get that little key piece of data that you've been hoping to get and you were too scared to ask for? I have to say I'm really excited about this stage in our business because it has been something that's been niggling at us. But more importantly, we have so much content that we just fail to leverage, to use, to send out to you guys, because we're always thinking in the back of our mind, oh, that's a bit for a newbie, or that's a bit advanced. And will those people get annoyed if they get it and it's not quite relevant? So we're actually going to be able to give you guys who are listening and who are on my newsletter the best chance of growing your business, of scaling your business or supercharging your business or starting up your business by delivering that information that you need to read and see and hear right now. So if you are on my newsletter list and you haven't already, make sure that you open one of those emails and click your relevant segment in that next email. And if you're not already receiving emails from me each week, sometimes more than once a week, depending on how engaged you are, I post out very relevant and now highly personalized growth strategies direct to your inbox. Just head over to selinaknight.com and enter your details, and we will start the journey right from there. So I'd love to know, has this email inspired you to go and create a segment, to go and start gathering more data about your customers and personalizing that customer experience? Make sure to pop a comment on social media or over at selinaknight.com where this episode is housed. And if you found this episode useful, please share it with a friend, because the more we help retail grow, especially right now, the better our economy is going to be. And there are more than enough customers to go around. So until next episode, have a great week. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. You can find all of the show notes over at selinaknight.com. If you found something that you heard today particularly useful, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes or Stitcher. And of course, feel free to share this episode with someone that you think could benefit by listening to it. Want more retail biz strategies? You can watch the Bringing Business to Retail TV show, where each week I'll answer a question or provide you with a simple, actionable retail biz strategy that you can implement in your business right away. If you have a question or a guest, I'd love to hear from you. Drop my team an email at podcast@selinaknight.com, and I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great week.